Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tom. What's up, Tom? How you doing?
Hello, friends.
This was originally going to be a road show. It's not a road show because I've got the Rona keeping me at home. That's what's going on here. So, yeah, I got real sick after coming back from Adepticon. Good stuff. Can't be happier about my overall experience. And then
I gotta say, I'm thankful I didn't have to sit in the car, 3 hours back or 6 hours back. With you,
yeah, exactly.
Now,
Yeah, really.
now that you're all COVID ridden.
Yeah, keeping you healthy there. That's what I'm doing. So, at any rate, also joining us, Takeover Mars. Craig, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Having you back. We're going to talk about Slaanesh. We're going to keep this show relatively quick because, sick and all of that kind of stuff. Nurgle trying to train wreck me here, but no, your little games will not keep me from Slaanesh. So, at any rate, let's get on to some news. Go for it. Tom, what do we got?
Yeah. So, let's talk Rumor Engine.
Yeah, it's that thing. There it is. It is a necklace thing of some kind. It looks like because those are on little chainy pieces. You can kind of see the little chains down at the bottom.
Yeah.
I assume it's hanging on something, and we're just not seeing the rest of it. So I assume it's like a Seraphon thing.
Do you think it's upside down?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think it's upside down. Yep.
I could see that. Do you think it's like a harness maybe for like a stegodon or something weird?
I think it's just kind of like three pieces of accoutrement they whited everything else out on, and then kind of hid the rest of it.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, yeah.
It's flesh eater.
Yeah.
The flesh eater parts?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep.
It'd be nice to imagine. I said, hey, look, maybe. I've said that I think that's why they're delayed, because they're going to get the full remake.
That'd be amazing. I mean, the real question is what are those symbols? That's the catch for me.
I don't think there's any actual symbols there. They're just nails.
Are those nails? Okay.
Yeah, they're just nails. And then there's scratches in the end. So, sure. I mean, like, I'll buy FEC.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see it.
I really hope we're getting an expansion / redesign of the range. That's why the book is like so the last one. And if so, fantastic, great, A+. Yay.
Yeah.
Be cool.
Yeah,
Be cool. All right, what else we got?
Golden Demon. I mean, we had Adepticon this week, right? Like that was
we
a
had
big
Adepticon this week. It was a big deal. Most of everything that was in the reveal show we already talked about last Wednesday.
Yep.
Now, Tom, obviously you weren't on that show. I had Adam and John to help me out with that. But was there anything in particular that you saw that made you excited or unexcited? Craig, same question for you.
The Raptor Riders. That's freaking cool. Like,
Okay.
that alone, I was like, I could buy some dinosaurs.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm excited that they decided to release a new army. It looks interesting.
We continue the joke.
It's stunning. That's what I would say. But as for me, like there wasn't any like the city stuff made me excited. Like more the addition of that book to the schedule, right? Because that hadn't been there, in that space, and so that was a big deal to me. Was just where that was sitting. The choice of OCR and Soulblight as the two releases for Death surprised me. Not in a bad way necessarily, but just it was a curious consequence of like obviously it says like FEC is going to be much bigger, right? Yeah, I mean those were the things that jumped out to me. Was the new city stuff excited me. It means that we could potentially do that for Havoc this year. Could be interesting. But looks exciting.
Okay, cool stuff. Obviously, the other thing at Adepticon was some Golden Demon. Congratulations to all the winners there. Good stuff. I pulled a few images of some people whose stuff I really, really, really liked and thought was fantastic. Just a quick little glance here. Alexandra dos Santos, first up. Alex, this piece is incredible. Got to see this thing in person. It's like wild. This is so wild. This one was the gold in my heart. I'll say that straight out. Like, the cloak on this, you have to understand, is all done in that, like, sort of Chinese pencil art. Like, the whole thing is this beautiful scenic landscape. It's incredible. It's not just the cloak, though. I mean, like, everything on it's top notch. But this piece really stood out to me, this Jacati Con. Thought it was exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. This was Ivan. Ivan is a patron and a student, and someone who I helped with this model, I guess. I coached, advised on this model over the past several months. Obviously, all the work is him. I'm taking 0% of any credit. He did all this incredible work, and he earned the gold in this vehicle category, and it was well earned. His attention to detail, his execution here was top notch, and I really love this piece and seeing it in person. It's incredible. It's incredible. So, well done. And then last up, I want to give a shout out to one of the young bloods. I happen to know this kid. He's a watcher of the show. Might be watching right now. I don't know. But he happens to actually like live in town here, and I used to ironically work with his mom, though we didn't realize all that until we ran into each other this weekend. But and this kid put this incredible piece together and took the gold in Youngbloods. I mean, it's amazing and well earned. Like, this thing rules. So way to go, Evan, and everybody else. But those are just, a few of my favorites. I'm sure that everybody else, all the rest of them were also cool. So there you go.
I have to give a shout out, by the way, to the teams event. Best overall actually got taken by Actual Trash, which is my like home Lexington folks. So the folks that when I roll some dice here in Lexington, that's who I play with. So kudos to you all for bringing home some hardware. I couldn't be there this year, but I felt proud that the Lexington crowd brought it home.
Very nice. Good job, guys. Congratulations to them. Yeah, overall it was a very fun weekend. That's for sure.
I think you've played Clay before. He brought in the champs. He brought Best Skaven home. He's been playing Skaven religiously for the last couple of years and been doing great with him. And then my other friend Aaron brought Best FEC home this year
nice.
For a championship. So
nice.
That's all from the Lexington group.
Very cool. All right. Well, hey, tell you what, folks. As I don't know how long this show will be until I drop dead, why don't you hit like? I'm not gonna actually do that. I'm not that sick. I feel like crap, but it's not that bad. Hit like. Do all those fun things. Anyways, let's get to some pick of the week. Craig, what would you like to share with
Hammer,
everybody?
Chuck Moore.
Beautiful.
Strength Hammer. He needs more views, people. He's great. His last podcast with Neil, they were talking about obviously workout stuff at the beginning, but the home little event that they did over the weekend looked like a lot of fun. Yeah, I think everybody should go check him out.
That's fantastic. Yes, I agree. It looked like a really fun event they were doing. I bet I wouldn't have got sick there.
I'll bet you wouldn't have gotten sick.
Yeah. Tom.
Actually, our old friend Doom and Darkness recently put out a video.
He's been putting out a lot of videos.
He has been putting out a lot of videos. And I'm not gonna pick anything specifically. I'm just gonna spruik his stuff. If you're not familiar with Doom and Darkness, you need to go check him out.
I agree.
He's just always an enjoyable listen.
And then lastly, for myself, if you're watching this week and you wish hope upon hope, but why, oh why, Vince? Why are you not doing Corn first? Blood for the Blood God. I love Corn. I just wanted to relish in the murder. Don't worry, we'll get to Corn next week. But Until then, you can watch the Corn Review on AOS Coach's channel at the link down below in the description with our good buddy Gareth, who is another excellent Corn player and who has lots of great opinions and thoughts and can give you lots of insight on the new book. So, there you go. Well, let's talk about some hobby time then. Craig, what have you been working on, buddy?
I got another Glutos I'm working on. I finished up 10 Demonettes and then accidentally hit them with some primer, so I got to restart those.
Ooh.
But we're going to focus on Glutos for now.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Funny thing, I'll just say a quick aside here. As I've been ill, time moves completely differently. Like, I looked up at the clock, and this was like...
I'm interested to see where this is going, people.
I looked up at the clock to mark a timestamp, and I was like, we have to have been going for like 15, 20 minutes already. And it was just ticked over to 10 minutes. And I was like, everything moves so slow. All right, anyways. Tom, what have you been working on, buddy?
This sounds ridiculous, but my basement. Like,
Sure.
I've been covered in cement dust. Like, I'm cleaning cement dust off of everything right now.
Sure.
But my basement's waterproof, so that's what matters. So the hard part is done, and then moving into preparing the play area. So.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
That sounds super fun. For myself, I would really like to have had some hobby time. I'm super jazzed to hobby, more excited to hobby than I've been in a long, long time. But sadly, it's not really in the cards at the moment. But I will tell you, I have a lot of new and exciting things that I picked up from AdeptCon that I'm super thrilled to be working on. We're going to do some stuff with a lot of really fun figs. At the moment, though, I've got this little guy right here. There he is.
Oh, that's cool.
That is the Ranger from Miniac, and we're gonna be giving him some paint. He's gonna be a fun little boy. So there you go. But that'll hopefully be like this weekend when I'm able to come back down here and sit here for a while and paint. So there you go. Okay, well, with that now, gentlemen, shall we talk about Slaanesh? Everybody ready? Everybody ready to party?
So ready.
Okay. So, party time, Slaanesh. Hey, just a quick question. Why isn't there more, like, party stuff in this book? Like, that's a real question. Why don't they make you want to party more?
Like rebels? Like,
Yeah.
How awesome would it be if, like, you chose a rebel? Like a stance.
Right?
Or something
Yeah.
that, like, everybody, like, this is the beatbox time!
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Like, it seems like they're missing a trick here. Everything's got to be so serious. And I'm just saying, if some of these units just started a dance party wherever they went, that would be pretty amazing to me. So anyway,
I think the only one that dances is the mask, but there's a whole like section in the book talking about how they make masquerade balls on the battlefield. So I don't.
Yeah, they just don't know how to look.
Like 4 up, you can't pile in because you're dancing.
They don't know how to write this tome. Okay, that's the take-home point. The high-level overview of the overview is they don't know what to do with this tome. They, the rules writers, do not understand this material and what it is and what it should be and what it means thematically. Like, that's the bottom line. When I read this, there is a just general misalignment between the rules writers and their understanding of what should be in a book and like the idea of what Slaanesh is. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. We have a misalignment here. Okay? And that's going to haunt us throughout this. That's what it comes down to. This feels like somebody aping and imagining what they think Slaanesh is like with a very sort of simplistic outsider view of the thing.
Sure.
not like somebody who really knows the touch and the feel of the army. Oh yeah, get into it. At any rate, let's get it. Okay. Overview. Still a fiddly Johnny book, relying on synergies and careful play to achieve victory. It's probably pretty Johnny Spike right now. And absolutely,
as is most things in AOS.
Well, it tends to sit in this sort of spot. It's just this book has really almost all the Timmy has been banished out of it completely. It's like Johnny Spike. I can't decide if I would actually put it in the middle area or just move it to the right of the Johnny area. I don't know. Anyways, which is funny because it doesn't have that much synergy, but everything you have relies on synergies. So you have to rely on like a limited synergies. That's the plan. Your units are often fragile and will die easily, though there are a few solid anvils now. This will change rapidly if you are allowed to build depravity. Much more role-based distinctions, though still some misses. They have one of the worst base allegiance abilities in the game. It looks fun. People think that this is fun. You will change your minds. You will see. Time will work its awful work upon you, and you will see that I am right. And this is the worst allegiance ability that's been printed. I can't wait.
Wow.
In 3.0. In 3.0.
That is a bold statement.
I stand behind it being the worst allegiance ability in 3.0.
Didn't Pushed into Battle still live in 3.0? This game got a 3.0 book. I think Pushed into Battle still worse.
You're talking about the fact that the little thingies have to get pushed? The little...
Yeah.
That's not an allegiance ability. That's a
oh, yeah, ability. That's... Yeah. I heard you say rule written. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, allegiance. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's...
Yeah, just allegiance ability.
That's
and
fair.
Then summoning has been largely curtailed. You'll want the base abilities anyways. But hey, if your opponent's really bad, you can have both. Do any of the AOS demon armies align to Timmy? Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Like Nurgle leans in there a little. It's got a little bit of that in the mix. We talked about that a little bit. But come back next week and we'll talk even more about it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Come back next week for the Timmy Johnny book. All right, so I'm gonna pause here. Anything I missed in the overview? What do you? Obviously, Craig, I'm gonna go to you first.
Yeah, no, playing my 2 games. A few games. This feels on point. I'm not as down on the allegiance ability as you, but I do agree it's probably one of the worst, hands down. But
just a couple quick comments real quick here. Justin Sloan, OBR takes the worst allegiance ability. Justin, you need to listen to what I said. I said worst allegiance ability in 3.0. That is not a 3.0 allegiance ability. If you expand it out, I would agree with you. But fortunately, you don't qualify. OBR gets a new book soon anyways.
Yeah.
So there you go. Keep going.
Yeah. No, it's just, I think it's enjoyable from a thematic point, and that's why I like it. But that's really the only thing that's holding it up for me.
It's what draws everybody in. On first read, that new allegiance ability, which we're going to talk about a lot, feels fun and cool and different and interesting. Oh, it's so different. It's so cool. It's so temptation, man. It's so metal, man. Is my response to that. Okay? No, it's bad. It's just bad. Browbeat was bad when it was a card printed in 2002. It's a bad magic card. It's a bad ability on an allegiance ability 21 years later. Go ahead.
No, yeah, no, I mean, it was just thematic. I like it. That's all. Out in practice, it was
thematically. You're right. Like theme-wise, flavor-wise, it works. Execution-wise, it does not.
Yeah. But and summoning, they might as well have just gotten rid of it. But it's fine. It's there. Yeah. But that's it. you hit it all pretty much.
All right. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about temptations. I'm not talking about the singing group. No, we're talking about the Temptations of Slaanesh. I wish I was talking about the singing group. I'd have a lot to say there. Fantastic. Fantastic music.
We'd take a bird walk real fast and go
absolutely.
into that.
Yeah. Get my stream demonetized instantly. Okay. So let's talk about Temptations of Slaanesh. We all want to lay down the base rule here first. Let's all just get on the same page. Make sure we all understand what we're talking about before I take this thing to the cleaners. Here we go. Okay.
Yep.
At the start of each battle round, after determining who will take the first turn, not that it matters, it's just a point in time, you gain a pool of 6 dice. These are your temptation dice. Each time your opponent makes a failed hit roll, a failed wound roll, or a failed save roll, you can offer them a temptation dice. If they accept your offer, that roll is replaced with a 6. Rolls placed in this way cannot be re-rolled or modified. Remember that the success or failure of a hit roll, wound roll, or save roll is determined after re-rolls and modifiers. Each time your opponent accepts your offer of a temptation dice, you gain D6 depravity points. That should basically never happen. If your opponent accepts the dice, then either you're in a very corner case situation or you're dealing with a new opponent who does not yet done the math. Each time your opponent rejects your offer of a temptation dice, the unit for which the roll was made suffers D3 mortal wounds after all of the attacks have been resolved. You cannot offer your opponent a temptation dice for the same enemy unit more than once per phase. So each enemy unit once per phase. At the end of the battle round, any temptation dice that have not been offered are lost. So over the course of the game 5 battle rounds, you will get 30 temptation dice. You can offer out 30, assuming there's that many fights over the course of the game, which there will be. There just is. It's very easy to make this happen. Okay. And if you even have like 2 units fighting over the course of a battle round, you can basically, like, just to say 2 of your units and 2 of their units, you can, almost completely get it done just on that. But if you have more, it gets even easier. So at any rate, remember, you don't need a hero or anything anywhere near them to make this happen. It's just they're doing it, which I just want to point out for team games is very funny. Like, this isn't the actual purpose.
You have double the number of opponents.
Yeah, well, yes, correct. What I mean by that is, like, if you're doing a partners game, like a team game, yeah, you can just start offering it on all your opponents, on all your teammates fighting your opponents' stuff. But hey, would you like some extra hits against my partner? So that's funny.
That is funny.
It has nothing to do with your people. So.
It is remarkably Zinch-like.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first thought when I read that. I was like, "No, it's like the Fate dice."
Well, so it's
but
cool. Like in teams, it's gonna have to get like a rotted, because what that means is that they auto 6 and you get a free extra D6 depravity. Like, that's just a non-starter.
I mean, it's exactly, what else would you do with it? Who cares? It's a fight. I don't need any of my units near you normally. Like, that is, I have to be in a fight. There has to be some fight going on, a hit or wound, but it's not like I need a particular unit. I don't know. I can have all my heroes are dead. I'm still offering you 6 dice because I, the player, am doing this. Weirdly.
Yeah.
I, the player, this is the reason number 1 why I hate this mechanic. Why am I, the player, involved in this? And why are you, the player, involved in this? Everybody else's mechanics just do stuff with their armies. Why am I involved in this weird game show that I have to now host? Do you want to be tempted? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we'll talk about other problems I have with it. But I hate that I have to take a hand.
This is a lot like it reminds me, obviously it's not the same, but of the dice game with like the dice game for Nagash and all that. Just because it's like, it's out of game interaction, right? That said, I don't know. I'll let you finish, and then we can.
Sure. I like what Travis says here, because he's got exactly the wrong idea. Let me explain. Travis said, so I liked this for playing new people, because I could use this as a lever to make the game more fun for my opponents. Travis, it will do the exact opposite. When you offer this to them, sure, I guess, if you offer this on like their most powerful attacks and hits and wounds, and you really want to be like the best stand-up guy, and they come in with their big 6 damage sword and they duff a wound roll, and you be like, hey, why don't you go ahead and wound with that and just kill me? Like, if you really want to just get murdered, then yeah, you can pick all their strongest attacks and make them hit and wound and give them all saves against your best attacks, and so on and so forth, right? And that's fine. But what'll actually happen if they take all of that stuff where you should offer it with your common sense would be on whatever their weakest attacks are. Okay? Like, for example, let's say you're fighting some Mangler Squig, Loon Boss on Mangler Squig. You offering it on the big balls and chains, the chompy jaws? No, you're not. You're going to offer it on them goblins poking stick. Right? And then they're going to say yes. And then you're going to get D6 depravity. New players will say yes to all of it because they don't want to suffer the wounds. Everybody fears that 30 D3 mortal wounds. Yes, indeed. So many potential wounds. And it seems like a lot. You're better off just taking them, because this army will fall apart without depravity. It will just fall apart. But if you keep taking them and you keep giving a D6 depravity, real fast, this army will become tough as nails and murder everything. It gets, like, it ramps. When your entire army is neg 1 to hit on top of their normal bonuses, when your entire army has a 5-up save and becomes Nurgle in addition to that, and when your entire army is just kicking bonus mortals on every attack, it is a completely different force than what you're dealing with base.
Yeah.
And like, when you let somebody ramp to 36, this army just becomes hard as a coffin nail. It's shocking, the difference. So like, isn't 30d3 mortals over the course of a game a lot? I don't know. Ask like Techless and Seraphon players who've been doing it for a long time. See what they think. They seem okay with it. So, but I want to get into why this is bad. Okay? Let's make this real. As I've said already, you don't need any particular kind of unit anywhere near them to make this offer. It's a browbeat effect, so you have to assume it will always work in the worst version. Okay? But the problem with that concept is that it also requires your opponent to be aware and be able to do that math problem.
Yeah.
Okay?
And understand the implications of that math problem. Correct.
And let's talk about when it happens. Tom, in your head right now, I would like you to go ahead and imagine you're rolling to hit and rolling to wound. Like do this. Do it in front of me. Okay? Yep. Like right now, go, I'm going to roll to hit.
I rolled a hit.
Okay, what do you do then? Pick out the misses,
pick up
right?
My misses, yeah.
Got these, roll again. You roll through them, right? It's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, now instead, I have to be there constantly watching you like a hawk, being like, wait. Stop touching your dice. Stop picking up your dice. Let me break up your flow and interrupt this. We interrupt this perfectly fast, smooth rolling for me to give you a math problem. Okay? Stop rolling, start mathing. That's what I say.
So,
okay?
Funny story. Mm-hmm. You say that, you know what it reminds me of? Not to make another Magic reference, right?
Sure.
But it reminds me of like all of the trigger, like, do you pay for that?
Do you pay for that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's welcome to Ristic. Yeah, absolutely.
It is like a Ristic study or whatever. You're like, do you pay? Like, here's a dice.
Paying the one?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm not so hard on it, because I play
Mystic Remora.
Yeah. Nobody pays the 4. Mystic Remora is just free cards. Okay. At any rate. Now, I'm going to help you out here. Okay?
Yeah.
Because there should never be this kind of interruptions in the middle of a sequence constantly throughout the game. Stop. How many hits did you have? Stop rolling. Stop. Would you like one more hit? Now do a math problem. Is it worth it to you to take D3 mortal wounds to this unit that we're talking about here in this case? Or is it worth it to me for you to say, get one more hit and get D6 and I get D6 depravity? How close am I to the other? How close am I to the next tier? How close am I to summoning something?
Both players are having to do math problems, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, because you as a Slaanesh player need to know what you're offering them and when it's going to be the best time to offer a dice, and they need to know when the best time is to say no to a dice.
Correct.
You do not offer during the wound of a Vermin Lord Corruptor. That's for sure.
Yes, you also need to know, do they trigger anything special on hits or wounds of 6s? So you can only offer it on the things where you don't trigger anything special.
Yep.
Right? It's like, I see people saying this, and I see, like, being a casual narrative player, I love the interaction. I guess if you just want to not think of any kind of economic terms and just start throwing dice at them on whatever attacks you want, and they'll just start taking them randomly or not.
No, I mean, the right answer is you throw it at them on saves.
But that's not what it's going to happen. I always want it on hits and wounds. I always want it on hits. That's your preeminent thing you can offer it on.
Sure.
Because that doesn't necessarily translate, right? That presents them with the most likelihood to go, no. Okay? Now, if they take the die, right? If you want it on like a save that will keep them alive, that's when they will take it. If the only time you would take the die is if it would literally kill the unit, right?
Yeah.
Because it's at like one wound left and you need that hero alive, so you take the die. Okay. Yep. No, because, and Chris said, or do you offer it on special hits, or refusing the die becomes super hard to turn down? No, because to the opponent, like, here, the economics of this is that you should always turn it down. Turn it down.
Yes.
Okay.
Just because it's too advantageous to the Slaanesh.
I cannot explain this hard enough. Look, folks, if you want to win against this army, turn this die down. This isn't hard. Everybody trying to construct the reasons why people will take the die. Blanket say no. Like, I'm not trying to construct Nancy Reagan's policy here. Okay? But if you want to beat this army, just turn it all down. They can't. At 30d3 mortal wounds sounds like a lot until you realize that's deep into the late game, and they have to spread it out very thinly.
But it's only a d6 depravity, Vince. It's just so tempting.
Exactly. Like, always turn it down. Okay? Like, the only time you don't is if like, accepting the save is going to keep your hero alive, and you need that hero to give some buff to, like, win the game.
In game as well. That's also the phrase that you should be yelling the Slaanesh, army to turn it down, because they're just so loud because they're dance music. It's all
yes. So what do the depravity points do? Like, so here's the thing. I don't really know that there's a pressure point in the game where you can just start going ham. Like, if you let them go, okay?
Yeah.
If you let them go and just start getting wild, like, I played a game. I ended the game at the end, bottom of 3, because my opponents just started handing it to me. Okay? Just started handing me the die. Once they started handing me the dice, because it just seemed like a few easy rolls. It's not a big deal. We're just giving them a few d6 depravity. It's just a few extra hits and wounds. I ended the game at round 3 at 80 depravity. I didn't bother to summon because I didn't feel like it.
My experience with one of the games, my friend kept letting me get the d6 depravity, and we're going to talk about Glutos and Lord of Hubris, but those guys won't die when you have it all.
Right.
You're
like,
it's a bad time.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, look, here's what I'll say. Okay? If you're playing against Like
when you were attempting, your response was piece of candy, right?
I just said, do you want the die? And like after a while, they just become like, they were just like, well, we've already given you so many, we might as well keep taking them. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's just keep ramping this to the moon. See how high I can get. How many keepers of secrets can I summon and still retain my maximum buffs? Let's find out. Let's get nuts. Okay. So my problem with this is, okay, Elecman, I don't like this because, one, I don't like time-consuming mind games in the middle of a freaking roll of my opponent's turn. Two, I don't need mind games in general. The game is already a mind game. You're already playing mind games.
It's happening 30 times over the course of the game.
Yes,
just to put a
you're already playing mind games by moving units and baiting people and doing these sorts of things that you always do when playing Age of Sigmar. I don't need an extra mechanic that puts part of my mechanics in the hands of my opponent. Everybody else just gets allegiance abilities they can use. Okay? I just want things that do a thing. That's it. All right? 3, it is super, super, super negative to new players, and high skill players will steamroll it. It is the power of this ability is an exact inverse curve to the skill of the player you are playing against. A new player will take the dice almost every time because they'll be like, sure, it's just D6 depravity. Who cares? I want to hit more and wound more and save more. And they will ramp you to 1,000,000 and then you'll steamroll them off the table. Oops. An experienced player will never take the die. They will simply rally or heal or do other things to recover the wounds, as there are many chances to recover the wounds over the course of the game. They will limit your ability to harvest DP out of euphoric killers, your other way to get it. Okay? And they will starve you down so you stay super low, and then your army remains weak. Okay? Like, that's what's going to happen. The higher skill your opponent is, the weaker this ability is. That's what browbeat effects are. It's not a mind game. It's not, oh man, I'm being so cool with my mind games. This is a mind game. It's a math problem. It's an economics problem. This is literally Econ 101. Okay?
So and you're saying you don't like incentive structures like inherently baked into the way you play your game.
I'm saying our game is already full of incentive structures, and this is a particularly bad one. Okay. So, that's where I feel about it. So there you go. Sorry if I made you sad. There it is. But it's a bad mechanic, folks. That's what it is. Because of, like, the time. I read the ability to my opponent. I played this twice. To both opponents, I read the ability at the start of the game. They were like, that sounds super cool. I said, yeah, we'll see. At the end of the game, I asked them, what do they think about this? They said, I hate that mechanic and I don't want you to play this army anymore. I went 2 for 2. Cool. Okay. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about other things now that I've spent a lot of time talking about this. But it was worth it. Everything underpins that. Okay. Your other way to get depravity is euphoric killers, which is perfectly fine. I have no issue with.
At first, I thought I wasn't going to like it, but playing it, like, I really enjoyed it. It was really fun to do. Looking and picking the perfect fight for it. Oh, it was a blast. Way better than the dice.
Yeah. You get points for doing wounds and mortal wounds to an enemy unit. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Like, you get to pick one unit you know is going to do pretty well. You get them in a fight. You call out euphoric killers. It's only at the start of your combat phase, so you can only do this on your turn.
Yeah.
But it's still good, and it's a nice little depravity ramp. I would love it if we had 2 abilities that were like this. And not like one stupid one and one this one. Hey, Electman, it's not you, buddy. I don't mind at all. I'm happy to answer your question. You're not pressing too hard.
Interestingly, it's each wound or mortal wound, not each point of damage. And so this is calculated before they roll saves.
Yeah. Well, it's that are allocated, so it's it's after their saves.
Oh,
They're
is it
allocated?
Did I
Yeah, allocated is after saves.
Yeah, there it is.
Gain.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
Oh, okay. Because of each wound or mortal wound.
Which it's fine. It's fine.
No,
it's perfectly good.
It worked. It worked really well. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
As long as you get into a good fight. I had a game where the first 2 rounds were just one skirmish, and you don't get anything from it really. But outside of that,
Slaanesh has
really
always
good.
been about like picking your fights to some degree. Like
Yeah.
to play this army well is to pick your trades in your fights well, and you've got the speed to do so. So it's not that bad. Okay, it is only in melee though, and only in your combat phase. Let's talk about Revel and Depravity. 12 plus, neg 1 to be hit. 24 plus,
Beautiful.
unmodified hit rolls of 6 or a mortal wound in addition. 36 plus, ward of 5 up. There we go.
I love it.
It's great. These are super strong. They make you unbelievably defensive. I have no idea what any of these have to do with Slaanesh, basically.
No.
But I love...
Indulgence, Spite, and Torment. Checks out.
Sure. No, you can name something, anything. I'm looking for what it... they can call it whatever they want. I'm talking about what Slaanesh does, but that's cool. All right.
I just like that I could turn my army into a nice solid anvil now. Very Slaanesh-like, not glass-jawed at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're meant to stay around, from what I recall.
It's a race to 36.
I wish it would have been Euphoric Indulgence instead of Oblivious Indulgence.
Ooh.
Yeah, that might have fit the 5-up ward a little bit better, you know.
Mr. Cardholder, no. Allocate is after saves are made. Because it's the actual, you're making the saves and then you're actually allocating the wounds. Okay. And then you've got your Summon Slaaneshi demons. This has been very reduced, this chart, which is cool.
I like it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine now. It's pretty weak.
Yeah.
You know, like it's your 18 is basically a couple dumb heroes or 10 daemonettes. Your 24 level is Seekers or a random non-hero chariot or a contorted. And then you've got a Bladebringer, which is just one of the 3 good chariots. And then
3-unit fiends.
3-unit fiends, which is pretty worthless. And then a keeper, which is very worthless. So that's
cool. Definitely not worth 36. I'm glad I don't have to carry around 30 demonettes for summoning now too. So
absolutely, yeah.
Complete winner in my book right there with that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Now let's talk about how this stuff's all split up. All right, let's talk subfactions because they're a little different. When we get into the Warscrolls, by the way, folks, we're going to move fast. We're going to move fast because a lot of these haven't changed too much. But we're going to go through these right now. Okay. Yes, and they don't have a locus. Summoning was weakened, but still usable. I agree, she will. That I actually like quite a bit. Like, it's still useful. It's fine. It should be weaker.
It's where it should have been in the first place. It should
100%. Yeah. I'd be happy if they just fired it off the roof and gave me good other abilities. I don't need summoning. If they just had an ability that was like, once per game, you can summon a unit of 10 daemonettes.
I'd have loved that too.
That's it. That's your whole summoning. Like, cool.
I don't like carrying around extra models.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about invaders first up. Figureheads of the Dark Prince. Okay, so all friendly invaders heroes are treated as generals, even if they're not the model picked to be your general. In addition, roll a dice each time you pick a friendly invaders hero to carry out a heroic action. On a 2+, you can pick one other eligible invaders hero on the battlefield to also carry out that heroic action. Okay. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What I mean, like, it's cool.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You can sort of like, infiniloop heroic actions. Like you can just keep doing that. As long as you keep rolling 2-ups, you just keep getting heroic actions. So that's fun.
But it has to be the same heroic action.
Yeah, sure.
Carry out that heroic, that
heroic action. And so, like, if you do Finest Day Ever, that's limited, obviously. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, it's neat. It's neat that you would like roll through. Like what this the actual play with this means that all of your heroes or luck will determine that, but some number of your heroes every round can be on their finest hour.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because the 2-up, because
nice.
you pick this hero and then you 2-up it all the way down the line.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing that says you can't technically do
Be
that.
affected by it because
Be
they're not
affected by it?
actually.
I don't know if
Yeah,
they're not
because-
eligible or not. I'm not really sure.
Oh,
Either
yeah.
way, like it's probably needs an FAQ. Worst case, that's fun. I wish it'd be neat if they had a unique heroic action.
Yeah.
Worst case,
To
you just
do.
generate a ton of CP.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Like they get this they get this escalating havoc, but it really doesn't feel like it's much in the way of these things. So where it should be. Anyways, you can duplicate along. You get it.
Yeah.
You can spin through all of them. Okay. And then escalating havoc. Heroic action you can carry with one friendly invader's hero instead of picking one from the table in the core rules. If you do, pick one eligible command trait from the list below that invader's hero does not already have. That hero is considered to have that command trait until the end of turn, which is fine. I do agree with Elect Man that if you get your actual general killed, like you make a weak unit your general, and then you spend the rest of it, and then you get them killed like immediately. You just yeet them into death, and then you just have everybody duping the roll for a command point on a 2-up. Yeah, which is funny. I do agree that that's a funny play. So what is this? What are these extra command traits we might get if we're going to get it through this heroic action? Best of the best, +1 to attacks characteristic while they're within 6 inches of a different hero. Not bad. It's melee weapons. It's not an enemy hero. Yeah. It's just of a different hero. So you can have 2 little heroes wander around in packs if they all do this, and they all give each other +1 attack. It's fun. It's cool.
Be nice.
Glory Hog, it's fine. You gain a CP. But again, if you're trying to CP farm, this is the highly inefficient way to do it. Whereas the way we talked about earlier is the super efficient way to do it. So that's fine. They're all generals, but they're not your picked general. So when your picked general dies, you go to a 2-up. That's how it was ruled last time.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
specifically, we got the opposite ruling, but that's how it was ruled last time this came up. And so then lastly, Hurler of Obscenities. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 6 this general. Till the end of that phase, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by that unit, but subtract 1 from save rolls. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Well, it's pretty much the same thing as before, right? Or was it 3 inches? Either way, it was a fun.
I think it was 3 inches before, but yeah, I think it's 6 inches. Fine. I don't remember off the top of my head. It is fun because you can do all sorts of fun things. Like, here's a fun thing you could do. Let's just say I can take 3 heroes. I can use Escalating Havoc. And then if I manage to get the 2-up at least 2 times, which is not too hard. Like, the first one uses Escalating Havoc. He picks Hurler of Obscenities. Then you roll a 2-up, and the second hero picks Hurler of Obscenities. And then I roll a 2-up, and the third one picks Hurler of Obscenities. And those 3 heroes now stand around, not with basically 6 inches from an enemy unit. And then at the start of the combat phase, they all go, boo! Boo you! And that enemy unit gets +3 to hit, but it doesn't matter. They can only get +1, so I guess, suck it. And they get -3 to save because that does stack as normal. And by the way, I will be fighting first. So, I guess die then. Which is the powerhouse play here. Like, that is the play with this particular thing. You stack multiple heroes. You go hero heavy. I mean, this army still is pretty hero heavy. It's got cheap enough heroes. It's fine. You stack these, and then you just Hurler of Obscenities them down into nothing, into no save. as many as you can get every time, and you just start using these as little balls that float amongst your units to just like strip anything that comes near you of their saves. It's fun. Okay, cool. Anything else we want to say on the basics here for invaders?
No, Hurler of Obscenities is the way to go, I think. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you can just give like one of your people the best of the best, anyways. And you know, like say, give it to it. This invaders can manufacture a pretty decent keeper if she's got a cloud of other heroes near her, because you can just go best of the best with her, which gives her +1 attacks, and then have her and her 2 buddies that are around her, who are then gonna rock themselves into Hurler of Obscenities, and then all of them are gonna blah 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 blah. They're all gonna yell at people, give -3 to save, and then she'll generally just kill through anything combined with her own rend. So
I love that we got a working keeper of secrets this book. That's wonderful.
It's one of the ways to manufacture a working keeper.
Yeah.
No, I'm big sick, Mitchell. That's all it is. Got a little bit of the COVID going on.
I keep seeing people talk about like you might be sad about the book. I think the book is good overall.
I do like
book.
it.
Yeah,
that's the funny part. It's just that stupid allegiance ability I hate. I actually like the rest of the book. It's fine. Yeah. It's not what I hoped, but it's fine. Like I want something to feel more Timmy. This isn't my book. They didn't write a book for me, but the book is fine. That allegiance ability is trash, but otherwise it's good. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's move on. Artifacts. Rodimus rule. It's so bad. Somebody didn't do the math. You would never pick it. It's terrible.
Silly. It's just silly.
I'm not even going to read it. It's so bad. Who did this math? The icon of infinite access is worth a pick. That's about, army wide +1 to attacks characteristic for your whole army for a phase. Great stuff. Again, great with the stack previously mentioned. If you're using it with the best of the best thing, there you go. Cool. Now you can get that keeper at +2 attacks. When she gets up to 4 claw attacks, it actually gets kind of scary as a monster, as opposed to the normal thing that it's most, that it basically does nothing. Now, the normal keeper is completely pathetic. Unbuffed, she is a untakeable war scroll.
So, agreed.
There we go. And then the Beguiling Gem is like, it's okay. It's a -1 attacks thing. It's okay. Lash of Slaanesh. Oops, I cut off part of the rules for that. That's funny.
That's a rule.
I did have to put this together through a medicated haze, so I apologize, everyone. Here we go. For each 5+, subtract 1 from the attacks characteristic of that unit's melee weapons to a minimum of 1. There you go. That's what you're doing with Lash of Slaanesh. There you go. Now you know. And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
The Pavane of Slaanesh is a similar thing. Casting value of 6 and a range of 12. It subtracts out movement. Wait, is that right? Yes. These both do the same thing. Only the Pavane of Slaanesh is for the rest of the battle, which is kind of interesting. And you roll equal to their move characteristic, so it's kind of fun. Effectively, mathematically, you should subtract a third of their movement out, right?
Put that on a great clean one, great unclean one. That'd be fun. Make them just sit there.
If you happen to get lucky.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's not gonna. The same unit can't be affected by this ability more than once per battle. So
yeah,
it's not like you can actually stack it on them and get anywhere. Like mathematically, you get one shot at it, and you will subtract a third of their movement, and you have to be pretty close. It's okay. Okay. And then Hysterical Frenzy, and you roll, basically equal to their bravery characteristic. I love how every time we do this, this spell has changed every time. It's always got to be its own. We got to think of some new thing to pin the dice to. It can't just be roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the unit, and then every 6 is a D3. No, it's got to be wholly within range, or this or that, or roll against blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Fine. Cool. Yeah, it's great. On average, against most units in the game, you will get 1 or 2 D3 mortal wounds out of it. It's perfectly average as a spell. Congratulations. These are all underwhelming. If the move includes a dice, do you roll it? No, you do not. If a dice is forced to be tested in any phase other than when it's active, I believe it either counts as 0 or 1. I need to look at the core rules. But it does give a specific answer to that. So there you go.
I do like how they stayed on brand with the Slaanesh spells, though. Not going to anything that makes me want to grab it.
Yeah, these are all fine. Now let's talk about the one I love.
Same.
Pretenders.
Yes.
I suspect I'm not alone. It's the good one. So here we go.
So many command points too.
Yeah, boy. Let's get into it. Everybody who knows my love in Slaanesh knows that I used to stack command points to the roof. There were games on, you can go back and look at the stream from NashCon 2018, 2019, whenever that was, when I hit double-digit command points, and Rob commented on it. He's like, who's ever gotten to 12 command points in a single thing? Well, there you go. So this one's all up my alley. Pretenders. Call me Chrissy Hines because I'm all about it. If the model picked to be your general is a Pretender's hero, you receive 3 command points instead of 1 if they are on the battlefield at the start of the hero phase. I want that to go ahead and sink in. Okay.
When I started the games with the extra 3 command points, all my opponents were like, what do you do? What do you mean you just get them?
Every hero phase, baby.
Free.
Every hero phase. Not just yours.
Yeah.
Every hero phase. Keep that general alive. Your general being alive is a very important thing here. If the model picked to be your general is a Pretender's hero, they can issue the same command up to 3 times in the same phase. If it does so, each command must be received by a friendly Pretender's unit. No command points are spent the second and third time your general issues that command in that phase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we get a lot more command points. And by the way, it turns into a lot more. It's great. And every one you use is worth triple. That's a triple double right there. That's great.
It's so nice. So nice. Apparently Skaven used to have this. So good. I love it.
So I love this. This does what it says on the tin. Command traits, you can stop reading anywhere past Strength of Godhood, which they already fixed correctly, but it's still the best one on the list. Strength of Godhood is if this general issues a command to a different friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh unit, which of course they will. You're issuing to 3 people. You're issuing constantly. Then until the end of the turn, improve the rend characteristic of this general's melee weapons by 1, and add 1 to the damage characteristic of this general's melee weapons. So +1 rend and +1 damage. It's very good. It has already been errated, which is correct. Which is it just happens once per turn, which is fine. And how it should be. Because otherwise it would be insane. Monarch of Lies is not worth it, and Strongest alone is duplicative with a million other buffs you can get in this army. Because +1 to hit and wound is actually the one thing you can get a lot of. So, nope. Rend and damage, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will take the 2 most powerful things to buff. Yeah. We missing anything here? Feeling good?
No,
Tom,
that's
any thoughts?
Strength
No?
of Godhood. It was great every
It's
time
so
I've
good.
used it. I love it. I
Super
love the
glow
extra
up.
command points. Oh,
I think I'd still be interested in invaders, but I appreciate what they have.
That's shocking. Really. Triple all-out defense, triple all-out attack, triple rally every turn.
Yeah.
Triple
Not liking
redeploy.
that?
Wild. I'm just like,
Fine.
what do I redeploy? I redeploy everything. Who all-out defenses? Everybody does.
everybody.
Who
Yeah.
all-out attacks? Everybody else, baby. Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing here? All of it. All the time.
What- What's selling invaders over pretenders for you?
I want to know, too. I mean, it's got some good stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, definitely. But
Like, I think that, so what I would say is this: Pretenders is much more linear in what it's offering, right? Like,
Sure.
you're just getting more of the same thing. Like, and it's going to be obvious what that thing is.
Sure.
I think that you can corner shoot a little bit more with invaders, particularly the way the hero actions are triggering. Like,
Sure.
because of those other levers that you can pull, that's very different than just 3 all-out defenses, all 3 all-out assaults. That all gets turned off if you kill the general.
All right. Fair enough.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
Where to me, like, again, it's both linear. It's linear for what it does. It's boring for what it does, because again, it's just doing the kind of stock standard stuff, and it can be turned off just by having the general snipe. Again, to me, the much more interesting kind of is the weird kind of Johnny-ish characteristics of the multi heroic action combined with stacking and then related to that, stacking a bunch of save penalties where needed, where and when needed.
Fair enough.
So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't hate any of that explanation, but I'm still a pretenders lad.
and that's fine.
I'm back on the chain gang over here. So, let's talk about like the best artifact. And
Yes.
that's the Crown of Dark Secrets.
It's
At the start of your first hero phase, pick
good.
one enemy unit on the battlefield. For the rest of the battle, while that unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, the attack's characteristic of that unit's melee weapons is 1. Now, admittedly, we need a little FAQ here. Because what if I throw this equipment, this artifact, onto the Fane? Do I still get this bonus? I'll tell you, I read it as yes, you did. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say anything about the artifact still having an effect. It burnt its effect. I put the thing on you. Then I
like a
threw it on the
potion.
Fane.
Yeah.
Right? And now if you're near 6 inches of me, you're reduced to 1 attack for all your profiles. Not, you caught that, right, Tom? Not reduce their attacks by 1. The
No, I see
attack's
that.
characteristic
It's
is
6 inches 6 inches of the bearer. If you throw that on the Fane, you're no longer the bearer.
I was at the moment that happened. It's not checking then, right? I was the bearer of that thing when I made the decision.
Right,
my
but you're
argument.
no longer, like, you can they can't, that unit can't be within 6 inches of the bearer, because the bearer, they are no longer the bearer once you've thrown it on the Fane.
I look forward to the FAQ around this. Either way, I don't care. It's still
And
worth it, even if you can't throw it. Like, even if you can't throw it on the Fane. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I would be interested to see if their attack's characteristic can be modified.
The attack's characteristic of that unit's melee weapons is 1. This is the full
Yeah.
text.
I understand. I hear that.
Mm-hmm. At any rate, it's very potent, right?
Yes.
Because, like, this is a straight shutdown for a lot of units. Like, this is it. They're rinsed if they get near you. They're just dead. Like, I did this to a loon boss on Mangler Squig, and then just walked over near him and didn't let him get away from me. You know what he accomplished in that game? Nothing. Because he just had no attacks. He's just dead. And most of the time he was laboring under neg 1 to attack, neg 1 to hit as well. Or more. It's just like, if you have any kind of big melee threat, it's just unreal. Right?
Yeah.
Poor Kragnos.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sure. All those people who rely on, like, that kind of stuff, it just... 1. right. The Scepter of Domination is not worth it. I don't know why our strike last effects have to be so bad, and everybody else, they just hand them out like candy. It's hilarious to me. Everybody else in the world gets strike last on like a million things for no reason. You roll like a 2-up, you get to make everybody in the world strike last, but because we have to use it, but because of us, because it's Slaanesh, we have to have only crappy abilities to access this. So it's fine.
I guess we broke the rules the first time too much, and people.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, yes, JRB, this is absolutely a tome of NPE. Like, you've got all that previous stuff, like offering the dice and just causing free mortal wounds is NPE. You pick something like Crown of Dark Secrets, ooh boy. That's super bad if they're relying on their special boy hero. Like, they've got their Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. You turn him to one attack out of him and the mount. That guy ain't so dangerous anymore. All right. Breathtaker's like, okay, sure, yes. I see it like it stops Death Frenzy, but okay. Like, that's too cute by half. There's too few on death effects in this game.
Yeah. It's just all about the crown for me.
Sure.
I see that.
The crown is incredible. Soul Slice Shards is fine. It's more rolling against their bravery. At least this time, if you beat it, it's a huge amount of time they can't issue or receive commands, which is cool.
I wish it was 3d6.
Of
when
course.
It's 2, it's
like
just
the
like,
other one. I know. Then it's just a total crapshoot. But it's fine. It is a big effect if it goes off. So I'm willing to risk it for this. It's not like, oh, you got it by 1 and you get 1 mortal wound, right? Like, okay. Like, at least it's something big. Issue or receive commands is very big.
Yeah.
The Phantasmagoria is really, 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 really strong, but it has to be, like, used very carefully, which is, if successfully cast, you can pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster. Until your next hero phase, each time that unit is picked to fight, you can pick one friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh unit within 3 inches of that unit, which can retreat. So you have to be, like, multi-charging and then doing whatever to make this all work, right? And then finally, the good spell, Born of Damnation. Yay! This is a good spell. This is why you want to be in Pretenders, Tom. Because this spell is real good. Spell it has a casting value of 6. If it's successfully cast, roll 6 dice. For each 4-up, you get a depravity point.
Yeah, like, if anything, correct. The power of the Pretenders is in the artifacts and spells, not in their ability.
I mean, their abilities are straight busted powerful, too. The fact that you, like, I'm going first. You give me the first turn, and I start at 4 command points. And then it flips to your turn, and I gain another 3.
It's so nice.
Like, I'm using every ability all the time. That's how this works. I will every phase use every ability and end the turn with command points. Like, that is wild.
I lost my general, and I still had enough command points that it was crazy.
Yeah, so anyways. All right, Godseekers. Truly the most boring to me, but they have a fun ability. Thundering Cavalcade, they can reroll charges within 12 inches of their heroes. So everybody within 12 inches of their heroes can reroll charges. So a potent ability. And the Maniacal Hunters, at the start of each battle round before the players receive their starting command points, you can move up to D3 friendly Godseeker units that are more than 3 inches from all enemy units up to D6 inches. Roll separately for each units, because you want to do a lot of silly rolling. All right, how many units do I get? All right, let me roll for each unit. They must finish the move more than 3 inches from all enemy units, but still, it's pre-battle round moving, which is always powerful. Moving off way is good.
Yep.
Into the Fray is fun. Strike first if you charge. It's cool. Speed Chaser, you get good ogre impact hits, and then Hunter Supreme, when you charge, enemy units can't pile in, and you get +1 to attacks. They're all fine. They're all fine.
It's all fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like Speed Chaser a lot with the chariots, but yeah.
Sure. Yep. So that's cool. Your artifacts, which is fine. The cameo of the Dark Prince can let you like issue basically a command point for free. So okay. Commands to friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh units without any command points being spent. How many points is this single person issuing? Okay.
Well, it's only once per battle.
So,
Right. Threnody voice box. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can play their melody. It's a -1 attacks thing. There's a lot of -1 attacks in this book. To units within 6 inches of the bear, which is pretty strong. And then Girdle the Realm Racer, the actual really good one, which is you can fly and you get cheater 6-inch pile-in.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
a nice one. Yeah, I take
I mean,
Girdle.
Sure. I mean, it's a 6-inch.
Easy.
It's 6-inch cheater piling in and fly. Like, obviously, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The voice box. I don't know. I do like subtracting attack characteristics.
Sure, it's fun. It's a good combo.
yeah.
All of these are to a minimum of 1, of course, but you can very much be in a place where a lot of your unit, depending on what you take here. Remember, all these are completely mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Like, either you're in Invaders or you're in Godseekers, you're in Pretenders.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you have a very limited spell list.
Yes.
Quite limited.
Right. Because you just run out of spells that you can reasonably pick for all your spellcasters, like instantaneously. So there you go. And I think they're not, it's one of the things, again, that disappoints me. It's like one of those things they didn't feel like they were really cared about or calculated. Like, gee, I've got a lot of wizards. A lot of this army are wizards. I guess we just all take the same spell or flaming weapon or something.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Paths is fine. Gives you a 3d6 charge, which is cool.
Very on brand, and I'm all about that.
Yeah, sure. Progeny is nice. This went from a heal to a really wild ability that stops redeploy, which is actually cool. I like this ability. It's fun because you pick a Hedonites unit, and when they end up doing those things, those units can't receive the redeploy command when they're near them, which is actually really fun. That's a cool ability.
Yeah.
And then Slothful Stupor, which is very strong, which is casting value of 7 and range of 12. Pick one enemy unit within range invisible. Until your next hero phase, the move characteristic of that unit's 3, and all run rolls and charge rolls for that unit are 3.
It's a fun one.
Pretty brutal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes it very, very predictable.
Yeah,
You can make sure
Godseekers
that-
has the best spell list. For my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a buff for an awesome charge, ability to shut off enemy redeploys in a big bubble way, and a thing that can set enemy units move to 3 and charge to 3. That's great.
And run to 3.
And run to
Yeah.
3. That's really great.
I want to cast spells. This is this is where I'm going.
Yeah, like you can basically like stay just a touch out or outside 9, and they can't get to you. It's not possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's with run and charge. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, fun, right?
It's great. You throw that on to
Yeah,
like
9.6.
Yep.
Okay.
Just
Let's talk about some War Scrolls. Let's talk about them scrolls. Oh my god. Remember that thing I talked about earlier with time?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My perception of time is so hosed right now. I thought that took forever. It really didn't take that long. I thought I've been doing this forever.
I mean, it does feel like we've been doing it forever, but
That's the nature of Slaanesh, I guess.
I'm trying not to talk much. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
we're trying to push through for you, Vince.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It's not like we'd like to prolong your suffering.
Yeah. Indeed. By the way, hit like if you haven't already and subscribe and do those fun things. I'm reminding in the middle of the show. Call to action. Yay. Look, if I'm here with the Rona and still pushing through this, you can click a little button. How hard is that? It's just that little bloop, and it makes everything fun and happy. Okay. This is still one of my favorite pieces of art ever. So awesome. Yep. I wish Shalaxi was better.
God, yeah.
She's not.
She's not, no. But that's okay. All right, let's talk about the Keeper of Secrets. Okay. So, look, I'm just going to lay this out pretty straight. So the whip is now effectively a short-range missile weapon, which is fine. But it also...
Don't say that. It's not fine.
No, it's fine.
Okay. It's okay.
It's fine as a ranged weapon because what it's actually doing is you pick an enemy unit within 6 inches, unit roll a die on a 2-up, they're -1 to their attack profile.
Yeah.
That's why you take the whip.
Sure. I understand that.
Which is, reasonable. You can take the knife or Sinistra's hand. Okay. The knife, you can pick one enemy model within 1 inch of this unit that has any wounds allocated to it on a 2-up. They suffer a number of mortal wounds equal to the roll. Fun if you're trying to kill somebody out.
Well, notice that, it's just units that have any wounds allocated to them at all.
Uh-huh.
It's not like not allocated this combat phase, not allocated.
No,
yeah. Like, so it's a great, you took an arcane bolt mortal wound, cool. Take basically a D6 mortal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the die is cast. I'm full on pretender for my keeper. People ask what would my pretender hero be. I make it a keeper, I'll tell you right now. Because I just wanted to go kill things. And then the Sinistra's hand does heal, which is fine. But honestly, I'm just taking the shield now because the shield gives you a ward of 5-up. Yes, it will become a non-bow when you eventually get to 36 depravity. But if I'm trying to be a pretender's hero...
But you have to get there. Yeah,
you have to get there and stay alive.
And you have to keep your general alive. That's the key, is you have to keep your general alive if you're going to be pretenders.
Yep.
So this has to be the 5-up ward.
Yep. She still has her mortals on a 6. You still have the little cause some extra mortal wounds with her dark temptations. So she's a relatively fun engine to push through even more potential mortal wounds / depravity points. And so that's cool. She still has a very bad spell, which is fine. And once per battle, she can do her excess of violence, where she can pick a different unit and make them fight again. The blue 400 means she's 400 points, which is how much she is. She's 400 points. Double caster, base move 14 inches, so on and so forth. Still only has 4 attacks with a sword and 2 attacks with a claws, because I guess with Slaanesh, everything has to be stupidly literal. You see other units that have weapons, you got 2 claws, that means you get 2 attacks. Nobody else in the freaking world operates like this. Right?
Yeah.
No.
It's, yeah.
But they can do 5 damage each.
They can.
Yep.
Elekman, yes, that is correct. What is NPE about it is the heavy debuffs. This army has a lot of heavy debuffs. You said, because Soulblight and Nighthaunt have lots of debuffs too. Are they NPE? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely correct. Many people who play against Nighthaunt freaking hate it because of that, because it's such heavy debuffs.
I mean, they're fine.
Different show.
Different show. So, at 400 points, I cannot impress upon you how pathetic this model is if you use her straight. Okay? Her average damage, assuming basically, if you just, if this thing attacks, as printed here, her average damage against a 4-up save is about 7.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's with everything written here.
Yeah.
7. That's your 400-point model.
She's like a souped-up black coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, now, When you put, how does she kit it out in Pretenders? She's kitted out with Strength of Godhood, obviously, for the rend and damage. She's kitted out with that the thing that lets her pick an enemy unit and knock them to 1 attack. Right? If you want to give that to her, or you can give it to somebody else. Like, again, if I can then throw that on the Thane and have its ability still apply, which is the question. Otherwise, you give that to someone else. You give a second magic item to her. You throw that on the Thane.
Yeah.
Because you just want to give her +1 to wound for the whole game. That's the key.
Right. Like, and what you would do is you would, like, if you give it to the secondary hero, you just need somebody that's highly mobile that can get around.
Yeah,
right?
And it's just her little buddy. Yeah.
But, like, I wouldn't even mind her with, like, the Scepter of Domination. Like, I understand it's a bad strikes last effect on a 5+. But it's all units within 3 inches, on that monster base. Like, she's still going to broadcast that around, and when that does trigger, it'll be pretty good.
Sure.
It's when it triggered.
But again, like you could easily get her within 5. Like, if she's a combat, right, framing, she can get within 3 inches of 3-4 units.
Sure.
We're
also going to buffer with other things in the book.
Correct.
And yes, it is Hamza. It is always the great risk that you throw the artifact and roll a 1, which is just like the dumbest thing. If you sacrifice an artifact, it should just give you the bonus for the rest of the game. Why we have to have that on 2-up, I don't know.
Yeah.
Burning an actual choice like that is ridiculous. The point is the Keeper can be made pretty good. If you get her on like 2s and 2s for her main attacks, upper rend by 1, upper damage by 1, which is what you can pretty easily do in that build in Pretenders, where she becomes Rend 2 with a sword, Rend 3 with the claws, or if you have her in Invaders where you have like a hurler of obscenities hype crew behind her, like, yo, what's up? What's up? Enemy's about to fight her. You don't even know, son, what you about to get into. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be bad. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, and their saves all go down in the trash, right? Then she'll cut through them like butter and do a lot more damage.
I kind of want to start an army all over and just have it be a whole bunch of musicians now.
Just hype crews behind her. This is my point. They don't lean into the party enough. Okay.
Yeah. Tons of chains. Which,
100%.
I mean, if you look at most of the models, they already have that.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So it'll be a nice, easy conversion then.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, I wouldn't. 400's a lot to ask for it, and then to put all that into her. I
like her. Don't get me wrong. I'm always going to run 1 now. 1 souped up is good. That's good. It's good.
Yeah. And 1 souped up in a Shalaxi, right?
No.
Sorry.
And like it's the fact that she can have a 5-up ward now to start is what trips it over. She can't just get immediately peeled. She's still not tough, but 4-up, 5-up is better than not. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Shalaxi is still like Shalaxi. She's more expensive, which is just comical. Her Soul Piercer at least does D3 plus 3 damage now, and then she has her 2 attacks with her claws. She's 420 points. She does have the 5-up ward, which is cool. She's still a double caster.
Subtracts hits 1 from hit and wound.
Mm-hmm.
But she's definitely 420 points.
Yeah, I mean,
for 4 attacks.
The
you're paying over 100 points per attack.
She has
a really good
one attack for 100 points. Yes. It's fine. She's okay. It's not as look. She's just not very good. I don't know what to tell you. At least we're on 2 attacks with Soul Piercer. Let's skip it. Next. All right. Like I just don't have time to waste on mostly bad Warscrolls. And yes, I agree on this is something I didn't push on, but yes, it is relative. With the like excess of violence.
Yeah.
The fight twice. It's a perfectly great thing for euphoric killers. If you excess on the unit you have, assuming you're not just blowing them out in 1 swing, so it's good.
But I mean, so one thing that because it's allocated wounds, just to return back to that, you're gonna want more. Like it doesn't matter about damage done.
Mm-hmm.
So their multi-damage attacks don't do anything, right?
No, it's allocated wounds. It's all good. So the allocated wounds still count over the top.
So allocated wounds, that
to the
is
enemy.
Damage done?
It's damage actually done. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That weren't saved.
Correct.
Kind of like how the old depravity worked.
Yeah, it's just
the wound
what is the numbers they marked on the dice and or removed figs for? That's how much you get. It's that easy.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Okay.
Did you do 5 damage after everything? It's fine. All right. And I agree with Infinite Sorrows, who says she's not great, but she's not the one that got the most screwed in this book for no reason. Agree. Okay. Sinessa and Dexessa. Both 270 points, which is comical because one of these is actually potentially worth taking and one of them is not.
Yep. Sorry, my bad.
No, you're all right. Sinessa, good.
Yep.
Dexessa,
as always,
bad. That's it, folks.
Well,
They can
they're
both
twins.
fly. They're both War Masters. Okay, which is cool.
Dexessa, following the approach of 100 points per attack.
I think that might have been the design philosophy for some of these then.
Sure. I mean, her attacks do slowly climb up slowly over the course of the battle. Oh no, Khorne is definitely more playable than this book. It's much easier and more new player friendly as well.
Yeah.
Sinessa is cool because she has her staff, which can do just some straight mortal wounds, like pretty good mortal wounds at a distance at 18 inches, which is great.
I love her staff so much.
Yeah, it's strong. She can issue commands without a command point being spent. She's a great backup command point issuer. So, you know, like, she's real good.
And she's a War Master.
Yeah, exactly. And she can fly, a very rare ability in this army. And she has built-in neg 1 to be hit, which is really fun. Because it's just all hit rolls, which is really fun when you then get to 12 depravity and your whole army is neg 1.
Yep.
No all-out attacks here.
And so, yes, I know that Dexessa's ranged attacks are actually a melee attack. I know, but Sinessa's aren't. So yeah, it's all good. All good stuff. Sinessa, good. Dexessa, bad. 9 wound heroes versus 10 wound heroes. Why are they pointed the same? Cool.
I agree with the Electric Man. I'm disappointed that she lost her Lore Master ability for Sinessa.
Sure. It's fine. I already got too many wizards. What am I going to Lore Master?
They're
I
both
get
So I
three
can play
spells.
so I can play Pretenders and take the Godseeker spell. That's why.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah, I mean, like, you don't have enough. You don't need a Lore Master anymore. You don't have any spells. Doesn't matter. You take 2 heroes, you got all your spell casting covered. So anyways, yeah, Sinessa good, Dexessa bad. There you go. Wrap that up.
Yep.
Oh, one other important thing here is there's a nice thread of +1 to hit and wound throughout this book. Mm-hmm. It's pretty easy to get in a lot of different overlapping ways. And Sinessa is one of them. Because she can pick an enemy hero visible to the caster and roll 3d6, which is fine. If it's greater than their bravery, then it's +1 to hit and wound rolls for all attacks that target that hero until your next hero phase. Okay?
Yeah.
So the point is, she's like this, and by the way, the spell on that is like a hero that's visible, right? So she's another great source of +1 to hit and wound, just like from downtown.
Yeah. I've always loved her.
We're gonna talk about.
She's really good.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a single cast wizard. Blah blah blah. Whatever. That's fine.
No, I'm
Let's
sorry.
talk about.
I like her. Oh, sorry. No, we'll move on.
Go. Say.
I Just her staff. I don't care how many kit spells she casts. That staff and the ability to cast Whispers of Doubt from downtown alone are amazing. Taking her Pretenders, not spending a command point isn't really that big of a deal, but might be worth it other places for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, now one of my favorite heroes, Celeste. The best couple in Warhammer.
Indeed.
Why don't we get more
down.
romantic, like, associations in Warhammer? It's weird, right? That's usually a thing that shows up in like most every fantasy story has like romantic inclusions or entanglements or stuff, and yet like there's
we have like Teclis and Selenor.
Funny stuff. Okay, so Celeste is cool. The Vengeful Allegiance. I love the two of these. It's a beautiful figure and just a beautiful overall kit.
Oh yeah.
Single cast wizard, again a War Master, which is fun. You can just have all generals, even if you're not invaders. You can just have all generals.
So many War Masters, love it.
And Deadly Symbiosis, a very, very powerful ability, but you have to use it very carefully. So, effectively, you're still trying to balance the number of mortals and demon units wholly within 18 of this unit. And if you do, you add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by all your units within 18 inches. So, yes, you do have to do a little balancing act here. But it's not actually that hard to pull off with her.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing it in a game and I just had 2 units kind of passing, like 2 units of each type in the bubble. And then I had 2 units, 1 of each type just outside the bubble that would dance around, that in case I lost one in the bubble, they could step in. I could like have them, because keep in mind, it's wholly within.
Yeah.
So you can play with that just by like finishing one person slightly out or whatever, like as you need to adjust, right? If you play with what that bubble is. Like, one person towed in or towed out. Oops, we're back to even. So it's cool. Like, +1 to hit and wound for everybody within 18 is a huge bonus. Because including Celeste herself here, by the way, or themselves.
Yeah.
I should say. Who can run and charge? Who like has a thing where if they get a 6 to save, they cost some mortal wounds back. And they have another very powerful spell, which is Subvert, which is a casting value of 7 and range of 18 inches, can either issue or receive commands. So, again, super cool. And a good 18-inch range. But also these folks just do work. Because realistically, what they're going to have is 12 attacks on 2s and 2s.
Yep.
At Ren 2 and Ren 1. And by the by, once you get up to doing mortal wounds on 6s... even more.
Yep.
And they're all for 215 points. Single cast wizard with a War Master with an incredible army-wide buff. And a great spell that can run and charge. And it's 9 wounds. So it gets to benefit from all the 9 wound stuff in the game.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Not a monster.
It's not a monster.
Yeah.
Can hide behind things, which is nice. Okay. Contorted Epitome. Oh, go ahead. What's your question?
I was just looking at the keywords. Didn't it used to have the mortal keyword?
It did. It does not anymore.
Yeah, it's just Damon now.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to have 1 more mortal unit. Right?
It can't turn itself on. Yes, you gotta have 1
Yeah.
more unit near him. That is a worthwhile shout out. You gotta make sure you're balancing correctly.
Yeah. All right.
No, good call. Contorted Epitome.
I still love it.
Still great. I think it's fantastic. 190, double cast wizard, double unbinder, 12-inch move, really fast, 7 wounds. Great Galatian champion in the current season.
Sure.
Yes, it does count itself as a demon unit, by the way, the Herring of Tree Felling. Does it? Hold on.
Did it say other?
Other friendly Slaanesh demon units. There you go. So it's not counting itself
nice.
at all. I didn't catch that last time. How about that? There you go. I don't think I played it wrong because I had the right numbers in balance. So there you go. I just wasn't. I was treating it as 0, so because I thought that's how it was playing. So I was doing the right thing. Hey, there you go. Double cast wizard. It still rerolls cast rolls, which is fantastic. It has this new ability, Horrible Fascination. Enemy units within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability cannot issue or receive commands. In addition, enemy units within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability cannot retreat. Holy Moses.
Yep. It became real good. Like, it was already a tech piece, and now it became a really good tech.
Yeah, still has the 2-up save against mortal wounds.
Yep.
And
love it.
Still has a fantastic spell in Overwhelming Acquiescence. You get D3 different enemy units within a 24-inch range, and you get +1 to wound against them.
Yep.
It's really strong. Yet another source of the +1 to wound, right? And there's a lot of this. And this is like a big one. You can hit multiples of them. Contorted is strong. It's fast. It's great in the current season. It's almost immune to mortal wounds. It has a really powerful ability here. You know, it can still do great stuff with like a flaming weapon. It'll actually get very scary again when you turn on the 6s to mortal. Your entire army gets really scary when you get up to all that stuff. But this one's a good recipient of it. Yes, Crown of Dark Secrets is really brutal on this thing. Yeah, it is. Like turning someone down to 1 attack with the Crown of Dark Secrets, charging this girl in. They can't retreat away from you. They can't issue or receive commands. And like if you're deep enough in the game, they're neg 1 to hit you, and you have a 5-up
ward. Well,
yeah. Like you just hey, your most powerful unit is now stuck to these 2 little idiots floating around on a mirror, and you just do nothing for the rest of the game.
Yeah, they're great.
So yeah, super powerful. Love the epitome. I think you see it in a ton of lists. I think it's super strong and real good.
Yeah.
The Enrapturous, it's a skip from me.
I like her.
Greg?
I like making people re-roll their successful casts and doing a little bit more mortal wounds.
Sure.
Sometimes it doesn't work out for you, but it's fun. And it's annoying.
Sure. Yeah, she's a skip. She just doesn't do enough. It's a problem. Like, she's 120 points of things that I'm like pretty neutral on.
Yeah.
Now the mask at yeah, it's fine, but I get it. She's a beautiful model. I understand why you want to like her.
Yeah.
The mask at 140, I don't hate with her new ability. Her new ability being the Endless Dance. After deployment, but before the first battle round begins, you can remove this unit from the battlefield. If you do so, set this unit up again anywhere within your opponent's territory more than 3 inches from all enemy units. But only 3. Oh, sure, absolutely. Roaming Hipster said for the Infernal and Rapture, she's a good summon against the right opponent. Yes. No, that I agree with.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I should say that is a summonable unit, and she is a great summon. Totally agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the mask. Love that I can set her up over there. Love that I can kick her up to 9 attacks. Love that she's up to 2 damage now, which is great. And she self-heals as well. In addition to being Bravery 10 and easily heroic recoverying on top of that. She's still great. She's a great pinning unit at 140 with that kind of pinning ability. Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah. I love the mask.
Yeah, she's always been a fun one to use.
Depending on how your opponent's set up, this can be your easy turn 1 euphoric killers call.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to you need to get a euphoric killers call all 5 rounds of the game. Like you just need to on your turn.
Mm-hmm.
And so her just getting popped over to the other side, picking some weak chaff unit that she's going to easily just rinse, right? Yeah. Kicking her up to 9 attacks. And then just going and calling it and then rinsing that thing. It's like, there, 10 depravity. Boom. Like, just have her go rinse a chaff unit.
Yeah, I mean, that's 18 damage potentially.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And that's all you want to do, right? And like, again, sure, if you've got an easy foot hero, that's fine. But I like her more as a depravity farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, again, I'll kill one of your chaff units, and I'll get 10 depravity. That puts me so close to that first tier. right?
Yep.
And then if I
And
get
then-
a Born of Damnation off or something like
Well,
that, boom,
or-
I'm over tier 1.
Realistically, you're going to
If
throw
they take
5
a
dice
die.
at them. Yeah, you're going to throw
Yeah.
5 dice at them. And so either that, like on failed hits or wounds or whatever. And, I mean, they can either take 5d D3 mortals, or, they might take one.
Yeah,
If
sure.
they maybe take one of those, then that'll put you over.
Yes, the mask is unique.
Yeah,
still.
she is unique.
She's still that one unique girl, but man, is she great.
She's love her even more now. Loved her before, love her now.
Absolutely. All right, let's just talk about all these chariots.
Yep.
So we got 3 chariot types, as always: Seeker, Hellflayer, Exalted, which is just the other 2 shoved together into one.
Yep.
Now, they all have Bladebringers at their head. Bladebringer is a keyword. Bladebringer is a thing you can summon on the chart at like 30 or something, 24. I don't remember exactly what the number is, but it's somewhere in there. Seeker Chariot's the small one at 8 wounds. Hellflayer's 9. Exalted is 10. They're all fine. That's my answer. All of the chariot types go battle line. Specifically, they all go battle line with their own specific chariot type general, which I kind of hate. Like, I kind of hate that if you want the Seeker Chariots, you've got to have the Seeker Chariot Bladebringer general. You'd think, like, the Exalted Chariot general would be just like, yeah, let's go chariot people, come on. Why do we have to have the exact one? But sure, whatever.
Yeah, it's dumb, but
Sure. And then, like, they all do, like, the Seeker people have mutilating blades, which means they do impact hits, 2 up D3, D3 plus 1 if you're near the Bladebringer. They all have, the Bladebringers themselves all have Acquiescence, which is the single target plus 1 to wound spell. So, good spell.
Yep.
That's a very useful thing. The Hellflayer has the grind at the start of the combat phase instead of the impact hits. And once again, it's the same thing where, like, they both have Soul Scent, but you get the Hellflayers get a bonuses to if their Hellflayer boss is near them. It's 240 base with a 130 point basic one that goes battle line with the Hellflayer general. And then finally the big 10 wound one, which is 260 points, which it does have Acquiescence still. And Soul Gorgers, this unit can issue the same command up to 2 times in the same phase. If it does so, each command must be received by a friendly Exalted Chariot unit. No command point is spent the second time this unit issues that command. Which does make me admittedly want to play an all Exalted Chariot army in Pretenders, where I'm just like triple doubling all of my commands to all Exalted Chariots. I can issue the same command again. So it just seems fun.
yeah, that's really good.
Just everybody all the time always gets everything.
Yeah.
I like 6 units get all out defense every phase, or 6 units get all out attack or redeploy my whole army. That just seems fun.
Yeah,
It's a good
it'd be
thing.
just make a racetrack with them.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
There we go. But obviously they work very well in Godseekers. And this is a nice bonus. This is really like all of these do pretty well in Godseekers. Okay. Alrighty, so that's our chariot peeps. The base vice leader on foot, she's 140. That is too much for that. That is
Maybe like 125.
Like, we're going to talk about the next thing. Like, she pulls in Daemonette units to fight one after the other. Why would I care? Daemonettes are still not good.
I mean,
that's okay.
You shut your mouth. I like them.
When I read that rule, I thought Demonettes were like really good. I was like, yeah, and I went and looked at the Demonette rule. I was like, oh,
right.
Okay.
Daemonettes are fine. They're 125 for 10. They're right here. They're always battle line. 2 attacks base, 3s, 4s, neg 1/1. Without any of the other buffs in the army being on, they're perfectly acceptable, quick, expensive, overtly expensive chaff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if none of the other buffs in the army are on, then they are dramatically overpointed. And they will just die. Right? Like, they'll do a little bit of damage here and there.
Yep.
But they'll just die. Now, it is cool that they get +1 to run and charge, and they have built-in run and charge, which is great. You know, making 21 attacks on 3s and 4s as a unit is cool. They very much benefit from the target that they're going after having acquiescence on them in some way for that extra +1 to wound. Like, if you get enough other things in the unit in their favor, you can do some good work with these girls.
And they rally on 5-up.
And they do rally on a 5-up. Now, if you're dealing in a world where you have 24 depravity, okay, then all of a sudden they become a much different situation.
Yeah.
Because they are on 25 mil bases, and so it's quite easy to fight with all 20 of them. And now that 20 is made, like, assume you got a unit of 20 is what I'm saying, that unit is suddenly making 41 attacks with every 6 causing a mortal wound in addition.
Right.
Very different situation. At that point, yes, they're worth the 125 for 10. My point is, when you take them, just understand and know how you're expecting to use them. Because without the depravity buffs alive, they will just underwhelm.
They're a nice counterpunch unit.
Sure, but something's got to be out front. Which we'll talk about that in a minute. But I agree with you, actually. I think they can be a pretty good counterpunch unit. Though they're perfectly acceptable chaff.
And, like, if they came in on 40 attacks or 41 attacks like that buffed, you're just going to, like, max out your depravity when they're done. Like, if you choose them as your
euphoric killer's choice?
Yeah, euphoric, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you're going to rinse something, right? Especially if you can... Again, there are many instances of +1 to hit and +1 to wound. We've talked about all the different ways you can get at it, right?
Right.
Sinessa, Silesk, overwhelming acquiescence, regular acquiescence, multi-unit spanning all-out attacks. Like, this is an army where you should basically be seeking to always be at +1 to hit and wound. Yeah. And if you put these girls on 2s and 3s and you're triggering the 6s or mortals in addition, oh Lord, she coming. It's going to do work. So yeah, they're a great counterpunch unit in that case. Just know how you're trying to use them. All right, let's keep moving. Fiends, pass. You got any defense of these, Craig?
No, they're cool models. I like the way they look.
Mm-hmm. I think they're still bad. They're 200 for 3.
The subtract 1 from hit rolls that I used to take them for back in the day, that's not needed anymore. So,
Someday.
Seekers. I'm back on board with these guys. 140 for 5. They are battle line. Loving these girls. Now, why do I love these girls? Well, let me tell you why. Because they're a great another turn 1 euphoric killers farmer. These girls have a need for speed, baby. 14-inch base move. They can run 2d6 instead of d6, and they can run and charge. That's a lot. And they're on the same thing. 2s, 3s, 4s, neg 1, 1. However, at the end of the combat phase, if they killed anybody with a wounds characteristic of 2 or less, which is very easy to set up and achieve in most armies, it sucks if you're playing giants or ogres or something.
Yeah.
But in most armies, somebody's got something with a wounds characteristic of 2 or less. Then their attacks characteristic go up by 1 for the whole game. That's great.
Yep.
By the way, that keeps happening every combat phase. Point that out.
Yep.
So, they're great. I like Seekers a lot. I think they're a good summon. I think they're a good battle line unit. They're very fast. They're excellent chaff because they're on cav bases, 5 wide. They can spread out. They have good coherency. They can actually
rally on 5-up.
And they rally on a 5-up.
This is the one I'd pick over Demonettes.
Oh, and they have plus
every time
charge built in.
Yeah, well, no, these would be my I would take 2 units each for chaff and then a 20 block of Daemonettes for a counterpunch.
Yep.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't end up Yeah, I don't know. It ends up being you don't need that much in the way of. We'll talk about it. All right.
Sure.
Glutos. He's fantastic. If you're looking for a center anchor to your army and you're not taking a keeper, you're taking Glutos because he's the man. Yep. Come around. Nothing can break. You can't bring him down. This dude is hard as a coffin nail, especially if you're farming high depravity. He's got a 3-up base save, built-in ward of 5-up all the time. Gives all enemies within 12 inches of him -1 to hit, whether they're attacking him or not. So, hence, if they try to attack him and you're at least 12 depravity, now it's -2 to hit. You can't even all-out attack your way out of it anymore. Okay?
Yep.
And at the start of the hero phase, he can pick a thing. He's going to pick himself and do damage, which means that at the start of your hero phase, he gets to do a thing that's effectively going to let him heal 6 wounds. So we're talking about a 3-up save, 5-up ward, -2 to be hit, that effectively heals 6 wounds.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. He's great.
He also causes his spell is also really good too, and causes enemy units to have their moves, run, and charge rolls,
which is huge.
Yeah, I love him. He's in all my lists. He's just so much fun.
Yep.
And he doesn't die at all. It's crazy.
He's quite different than everything else in the
yeah.
Yeah.
He is a super anvil. Like, just as I said, super tough. If you're looking for somebody to anchor a whole force, he can do it. He's great.
Yeah. He's probably why most of my lists go super mortal heavy, just the battle shock immunity that comes with it later, and
sure,
the bravery. He's really good. He holds his own. I have yet to see him die with this new book. Yeah.
Yep.
I do kind of miss his bonuses to casting spells.
Sure.
I had trouble getting stuff off with them, but
yeah, it's understandable.
Everybody's losing their bonuses to cast, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, yeah. But in the end, it's totally fine. I'm okay with where he's at. I don't need the spells with him around.
Yep, super strong. All right, he's just fantastic. 480 points, like I said, but totally worth it. He is the strong center to your army. Okay.
Yep.
Lord of Hubris. 5 attacks, 3/3s, -1, 2 damage. Oh, I cut off his stats. Oops. Whatever.
It happens.
It happens. He has 5 wounds and a 5-up save with a 4-up ward. There you go.
Yep.
His special ability is you can pick an enemy unit. He gives them a chance to strike first. The strike first effect applies to them, but all their unit attacks must target this unit. So, this is the type of thing I really hate. Because as an ability played straight, this is okay. Like, he walks up,
sure,
he points at an enemy unit and goes, haha, you have to attack me. Right. And and then he attacks them, and you get some control of the enemy phase. Right? Because you're kind of deciding their attacks. And he's on a 5-up, 4-up, so he's not going to survive very much if you hit him with any kind of real power. But of course, that's not actually what we're doing. What we're doing is we're doing some kind of nonsense that's around Phantasmagoria or something similar, where we go, we strike, we call it out, then we retreat this dude, and now that unit can't attack at all.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's what we do.
Or I threw the crown on him and didn't do that to just... It's already kind of annoying to play with all the debuffs, so I just threw the crown on him, and that way at least rolled some dice against him.
You're going to attempt to basically hose this in multiple ways to where you force them to fight him, and then you don't let them fight him.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate when the incentive on the thing is completely misaligned to the spirit of the thing. Yes, thank you, the die is cast. It was terrible when it was goading arrogance for Lumineth. It's terrible here. Yes. They write these things thinking that we're all just going to play fair and nice and be like, yes, why don't you come get me? Like, we're not all just going to try to cheat it, right? Like, we're just going to try to be like, yeah, cool. I don't care what any of this flavor is about. I'm going to try to force you to attack a guy and then remove that guy so you can't attack that guy. So I waste your entire unit's whole turn. Like, super cool, man. I hated that whenever I got hit by Lumineth.
Check that
out. So if it was like, no, but as base unit, it's fine. It's fine. I do like his secondary ability, which is only the best, which is he gives Painbringers and Twin Souls, wholly within 12 inches of him, fight on death, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Death Frenzy has killed me many a time, so...
Yeah, it's very potent ability, so it's good stuff. Sigvald, he's still Sigvald. He does Sigvaldy things. Keep in mind, he's a little weaker now because he can't... because he can't be brought off board and ambush anymore. Because we don't have that stuff, those secondary subfactions like we used to have. I don't know why we didn't just get subfactions. I don't know why this book still got written like it did. Why didn't we just like get allegiance abilities and subfactions and stuff? Like, we could have just done that. So that's fine. But cool.
I still like him. Good against the
He's
wards.
still good. Sigvald's still great. I love this dude, man. I'm in for this. Uh-oh. No good. Let's talk the Lord of Pain. He's still the Lord of Pain. 4-up base save, 4-up ward. And he kicks back mortal wounds. And nicely, he had 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh mortal units wholly within 12 inches of this unit while this unit is contesting an objective. So, very potent.
Another hit and roll. Yep.
Yeah, another hit and wound roll bonus. Very easy one to achieve.
I'll take it.
Yeah, he's great. I like the Lord of Pain a lot at 135. I think he's super valuable. He doesn't have quite the techie nonsense, but he's still good.
Yeah, I like him.
Now let's talk about the sexiest wizard this side of the beginning of this book. Shard Speaker of Slaanesh. Here we are. Get some. 125 points. This is a unit I can get behind. An auto-include mortal for me. Single caster. If she casts a spell that is not unbound, she gains her Shadow Cloaked Claws and gains a ward of 4-up. So, very good book holder. Okay.
Yeah.
Because then she gets an extra spell. And you got 2 shots at it with Magic Book. Magic Book. I have COVID, Fallen. That's what's going on. And also, once per turn in your shooting phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 9 inches of this unit, roll a die. On a 4-up, subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit until your next hero phase. Same unit cannot be affected by this ability more than once per turn. Remember when we were talking earlier about stacking, yelling at people and insulting them in invaders? Why not also have her be one of the heroes that's following it around that also rolled the 2-up? So now all 3 of the heroes yell at them, and then the Shard Speaker points at them, and now they're like neg a bajillion to save.
Yep.
Don't even worry about rolling saves. They won't matter.
Yeah, she's great in Pretenders. She's great in Invaders, where you want to be getting those extra save bonuses. She can be another bonus rend for your Strength of Godhood General, effectively. Yeah. And also, she's pretty darn effective in melee because those Shadow Cloak Claws, if you're in the point where you can actually, like, I was keeping her near I was using her as one of my mortal units to balance out on Celeste. So she was just on like 2s and 2s, neg 1, 2 damage with those 5 attacks. Man, did some work. Bliss Barbs are still Bliss Barbs at 150 points. They're pretty worth it. I think there's a lot of people who are calling this as being a shooting book, and maybe that's true. The most powerful version of this book is probably a shooting-focused sort of Castle-y type of build.
Yeah. I can see that.
So it could happen. I personally think Bliss Barbs are very, very weak and fragile, but it's hard to argue with their incredibly effective shooting profile. at 150 points. So there you go.
I expected you to say thanks. I hate it, and move on.
That is also
I know
correct.
I know you don't like bliss barbs.
I don't, and I do hate it. And let's move on. Painbringers. Craig, you want to talk about Painbringers? Because
I love Painbringers. Oh my gosh, do I love them? My biggest complaint last time was why were they just a 4-up and then their shield just gave them a +1? That's gone. They're just a 3-up base, and they get to add 1 to their save roll when they're freaking wholly within 12 of an objective that I don't control. Like they're great for going out there and
within
taking.
enemy territory or an objective you don't control.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It is. They're just they're fun. They're great. With the 3 attacks, 3s and 3s and -1 rend, and we've seen how many times you get +1 to wound and hit. So it's pretty much effectively 2s and 2s. They're fun. They're great. They stay around too. They can take a hit.
Yep.
Where before they couldn't. I don't know. I could go on and on and on about how much I love them.
I could see feasibly running like a block attack.
Yeah, that's like what I do.
The 1-inch range sucks, right? Even for 10, but like I think it might be worth it still.
Yeah.
I think Painbringers are so strong. I think they're just so strong because that 3 attacks on 3s, neg 1/1. And just like as the game goes on and you build depravity, they only get so much better. They make a lot of attacks. Yeah. When they start getting neg 1 to hit, when they start triggering mortal wounds, when they get a 5-up ward, holy crap.
They're not going anywhere. It's great.
Yeah. So just super solid.
How many units of these would you run?
I mean, I think you can easily, there's a couple different builds of this depending on what you want. I think they're interesting bodyguards with Glutos. Just having like 2x5 or 1x10 around Glutos can be really powerful because then then they're also getting the neg 2 bubble, and it's just a strong center in the current in the current season. There's a lot of strong center does a lot of work, right?
Yeah. And that would also give them immune about near Glutos.
Yeah, turn 3.
Yeah, so they're really good. Twin Souls, not as good. They didn't get the save bonus. They lost an inch of range, which is like why that was their whole thing that made them different. Yeah. You know, they're 2 attacks on 3s, 4s, neg 1 for 2 damage. They have a ward of 5 up while they're within 3 inches of enemy units, which becomes a non-bow later in the game. And they subtract 1 from the attacks characteristic. This just feels like the greatest example, like, of them almost getting it right and then just screwing it up. The Painbringers feel so correct because they're clearly an attrition anvil, right?
Yeah.
They're high save. They get better at tough over the course of the game and will wear people down. Yeah. So if that's the case, then you'd think the Twin Souls would be like an evasion hammer or something like that, right? That would be the true counter. Yeah. Nope. It's not that. Like, okay. Or not, I guess. So that's fine. I just don't like the Twin Souls very much. I think they're okay now, and I think the -2 enemy unit attacks is very powerful. It is another source of that. If that's kind of what you're going for, then I think
it just seems redundant.
Stacked really, really strong.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it just seems redundant. Like I can't imagine running. I don't know.
It's so easy to get the -1 to attack characteristics, and then the 5-up ward. Yeah.
I just like when I look at these next to the Painbringers, like I would probably take Painbringers every time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand what you're saying, Jay, and Jay is certainly a great player of Slaanesh as well. But I just don't think these guys cut the mustard for other options in the book. I mean, like, I'm happy to be proven wrong at some point, and I will play around with them more. But they just haven't been doing it for me. So.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't want them to be durable, Infinite Sorrows. I want them to be killy. Because they're supposed to be my hammer choice.
Right.
I've got plenty of things that I can survive with. I already have a durable thing.
Like if they were neg 2 rend, that may be another conversation.
Sure. Hellstriders with Claw Spears and Hellstriders with Hell Scourges. I don't particularly favor the Claw Spears now because they're kind of bad. The Hell Scourges, though, are perfectly good. These are your great mortal, high-inch move Seeker Riders, 14-inch move. The reason you take these, even though they are 160 for 5, which is a bit expensive, is good old-fashioned hooked tendrils. Enemy models with a wounds characteristic of 1 or 2 cannot contest objective while they're within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability. Yet again, one of those units that, if it happens, like makes for great chaff, makes for great speed, objective control, can actually do a decent amount of little work, because every model makes 5 attacks on 3s and 4s, no rend 1 damage. Again, if you can go get into enemy chaff early and just call euphoric killers, you can actually get there. It's a great way to just ramp early on. But yeah, they're just a very multifaceted unit. If you get into the late game, then they actually become like the toughest chaff that's possible out of 4 up, 5 up. So it's great.
Yeah.
Slick Blade Seekers and Bliss Barb Seekers. Yeah, they're all good. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're very expensive and don't have a role. I agree, Infinite Sorrows completely. Slick Blade's cool because it can run and charge. Bliss Barb can run and shoot, of course. They're both very fast. They both have a high amount of wounds. With Slick Blade, they want to go hunt low wound units. Because their glaives go to 4 attacks each on 3s and 3s, neg 2 rend, 1 damage.
I really like them.
I like the Seekers a lot. I haven't got as much of a chance to play with them yet as I want to. I want to experiment a little more with them. But I really like the Slick Blade. They just seem like a very powerful euphoric killers unit. When they can go out and hunt the right unit, they're a great... I'm always looking, what's going to farm me in my turn? Euphoric killers. And generally, I want something that I can move 20 inches and then get into the fight I want it to be in, right? Yeah. And then call that bonus and swing, right? And these guys, getting them on like 2s and 2s, neg 2, 1 damage, it'll get there.
Yeah.
They'll do the work.
Yeah.
And then the Bliss Barb Seekers now have that thing they just love to give out apparently to everybody. Which is the Vectors of Agony. If any wounds caused by attacks made with missile weapons by this unit are allocated to an enemy unit, subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit until the end of that turn. The same unit cannot be affected by this ability more than once per turn. They don't shut off the ability to all gain, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But still good. Another source of -1 to save. So I just want to point out, right? So again, very interesting, very positive. I like the Seekers a lot. They're much harder to remove than their tiny little friends on foot. And they have a much better utility in my mind. That isn't just like raw shooting power. With that Vectors of Agony, combined with all the things we mentioned previously, they can do a bunch of stuff. So there you go. Any tips on how BOC takes on this new book? Just take the D3 damage, because who cares? You're BOC. You got plenty of bodies. And charge forward and smash into them. Just out body them. You've got to just body this army hard as fast as possible.
Don't let them build depravity.
Yeah, don't let them build depravity.
Yep.
Fiend Bloods. Still a pass. It's still a pass for me. They do more damage now.
Yeah. That's
cool.
Yep.
And they can fight twice, which is cool. But they're 9 wounds for 145 points with an 8-inch move on a 5-up save. And
no run and charge.
And no run and charge. They are too slow to be too effective. So, pass. The Dread Pageant is cool because it can strike first. Okay.
Yep.
Which means it can be an excellent partner for your Phantasmagoria effects and then peeling your Lord of Hubris out of the fight. There are other things that will let you strike first in this book as well, but that's obviously another one that's a pretty cheap investment. So you kind of bring them in, and the guy, like, the Dread Pageant charges in, the Lord of Hubris charges in, the Lord of Hubris goes, ha, you must fight me, and then the Dread Pageant goes, ha, we strike first, and then they attack, and then the Hubris guy leaves because of Phantasmagoria. And then that enemy unit goes, oh no, I can't fight anybody, boo. There you go. So, cool.
Yeah.
If you...
Fun.
Yes. If you've made a unit fight last in your turn, wouldn't the Slangor fight last take effect before the enemy units fight last? Yes, it would. Because fight last are done completely by priority. The Wheels of Excruciation are fine. They're 80 points. The Mesmerizing Mirror is fine. It's 60 points. But the reason you may think about it, it's not actually because of the lure, it's because of this. At the end of the movement phase, roll 6 dice for each unit within 6 inches to send the spell. For each 6, that unit's commanding player must choose whether that unit will gaze into the mirror or resist temptation. If it resists temptation, it suffers D3 wounds. If it gazes in the mirror, the player summon the endless spell, gains D3 depravity points. This ability has no effect on Hedonites of Slaanesh units. So it's, again, it's another, in this new world, it's another good depravity farm way where it's like more D3 mortal wounds. You really want to, like, if you're doing that and a keeper, and the mirror, you can actually start hitting them with enough D3 with your dice, your temptations, where you can just D3 mortal wound the whole enemy army to death, and that's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like the mirror.
Also, yes. Oh, totally. And don't forget one of the other advantages. I didn't say this with the Bliss Barb Seekers, which I like, or the Bliss Barbs on foot, or even with the little pew pew pew, the little shooter harp lady, is that the shooting phase is another chance where you can offer them
dice.
Dice. So, yeah. So there you go. Yeah, the mirror is great. It really does work well in tandem with your other strats here that can just feed your depravity to the moon, right? Because people who tend to make one bad decision will just start cascading bad decisions, which I will say is very on theme. You start wrecking your life with this book, you will just keep wrecking your life with this book.
Temptations, it's a difficult thing to struggle with.
Yeah. And then the Dreadful Visage is fine, and the Feign is still a summoning thing and gives you +1 to wound for the whole game or for that round, depending on whether you just prick yourself on the Feign or if you throw an artifact on it. Elect Command, why do I hate Bliss Barb Archers? First of all, we shouldn't be a shooting army. That's number one. And I hate that we consistently are getting pegged into a shooting army. That's why I hate them first. Slaanesh is not about shooting. I don't know who told anybody Slaanesh is about shooting, but it's certainly not. That's number one. Number two, I hate how it always ends up being the priority, and people always go to shooting if they can, so that sucks. Number three, I hate that there are little paper boys that die so easy because they're like 6-up saves as 6 bravery, and I don't like them. And I don't like swarming the board with glass cannon shooters. It's not why I decided to play Warhammer. I decided to play Warhammer because I wanted to go punch somebody in the face. Not play a bunch of little glass cannon shooters. Boring.
The answer is it's pure preference for Vince.
Yes. Yes, I don't think they're a bad unit, as I said. I thought they're fine. The only thing that's actually negative in the larger game state is if they do cause the army to lean too much into being a shooting platform only. Then that's negative. But everything else is just my taste. All right, folks. There we go. That's it. We're at the end. I'm going to bed. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, Craig. Final thing, man. What do you got? What didn't we talk about? What do you want to say about Slaanesh? Go for it.
No, I mean, I obviously love Slaanesh a lot. I do think the Lord of Hubris is a huge, great addition. It survived the Vermin Lord Corruptor all by itself with its full attacks. With that come at me first, I loved it. I feel like we've kind of harped on a lot of the negative things that we didn't like about the book, but overall, I think the book is a good book. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just They went in a different direction than I thought they would go. But yeah, overall, I love it. I'm excited to keep playing it. I was taking a break from AOS till this book dropped, and I looked at it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm back.
Yeah, it's funny. For me, like, I love that most of the units that I wanted to play, just because I love the look of them, like, they're they're like imminently playable.
Yeah.
And so that's super enticing to me. That like the main things that I'm interested in and like fielding are all present in there. So
I have
yeah.
extras, Tom, if you want me to send some your way.
Well, I mean, to be very clear, I have I have at least a Battle Force box and more. So I actually do like I slowly for a year I like all of my rewards that I got at like different auctions and like for placing or whatever, I grabbed Slaanesh stuff because I was like, eventually this is gonna have to be good. So the reality is that I may end up, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see.
Checks out. All right. Good. I mean, it is a very Johnny-ish book now, and you're a very Johnny-ish player. You are a Johnny Spike, so hey, I think it's right in your wheelhouse.
It is.
I think
just add it to the pile.
Sure. My final thoughts are: I'm sad that the book isn't as well aligned to me as I would have liked. That being said, I did have some fun playing it. I do worry about the NPE. My opponents in the games I've played so far didn't really enjoy playing against me. It was kind of unfun for them because of everything I was doing to like restrict and sap their play experience and their game plan. Not a problem for Tom. Tom loves ruining people's games.
I was gonna say, actually, the more you talk about it, the more it sounds like it's right up my alley. I ruin other people's fun. I get to do that for 3 hours at a time.
Yeah. But overall, it is very much a better book. I just wish we would have gone to Revolution, not Evolution here. I think eventually we need to strip Slaanesh back to the studs and like actually make a cohesive theory of like what is this army. But I mean, it's certainly playable, right? When you look at a lot of the heroes, they're bringing a lot of value. They've done a lot better job of assigning the roles to things. Yes, Doom, you're fine. You don't have to use the demon side if you don't want. Things like the Bliss Barbs and stuff like that are actually quite strong. The Painbringers are quite strong. Yes.
Yeah, I don't really run demons at all. So
quite strong.
Gludos is crazy strong.
Ridiculously.
And so like in the end, I'm sure I'll play a few more games of this just to get a real sense and understanding of it. But it's not really a book for me. And that's not a judgment on the quality. Please hear me when I say that, right? Like, it's just a book that's mainly about kind of forcing NPE on your opponent. And I don't really like that. That's not what I go for in this game. Like, I want a book that does a thing.
Are you a Ristic study Magic player? If you are, this is the book for you.
Yeah, and like I own tons of Ristic, all those things. You know that, Tom. I never use any of them. I never put them in my decks because I think they're a bad play experience for people.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing here. Like, yeah, you can stack up a bunch of really awful penalties and then just gut them and then make a bunch of bad choices so your army becomes effectively immortal. Like, yay, good stuff. Or you kill them through a D3 mortal wounds at a time. Like, for the few armies that don't really have any kind of real healing or rally bonuses, yeah, this stuff will suck.
Yeah.
Right? So, at any rate, but I am glad that a lot more stuff is playable. There really aren't that many bad units or things I wouldn't put on the table. So that's strong. We've got some good hammers, got some good anvils, got some good chaff and utility and mobile stuff. Most of the heroes have value. So overall, good. Good. Like, working within this restricted paradigm of design space, it's not bad. That's my final thing. It's a hot, like, my personal vote, like a 6 out of 10, but it's probably a 7 out of 10 in reality.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
That's good. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And as always, hit like, hit subscribe, support the channel in all the fun ways that you can do so. There's like links and things down there for Patreon and all sorts of other things. For those who haven't seen it yet, yes, I'm going to try to work with this person to get these stickers made.
Yes.
We're gonna work on that. He came up to me and asked some questions about it, and so yes,
Amazing.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Mhm. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that done. He had me at fist of the, like that's all. That's partially Evan's work too. Which is Miniacs producer, who originally did that that image of the "Here's why you're wrong." At any rate, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm sure I'll hopefully be better by next Wednesday. So as always,